In this lecture, we're going to talk about coupling, which is an extremely important principle in object-oriented programming. Yet, a lot of developers don't know what coupling is all about. So just because they're creating classes with fields and methods, they think they're doing object-oriented programming, but they are not. So what is coupling all about? Coupling is about how much a class is dependent upon or coupled to another class. Let me give you a metaphor. You use your phone, so you're coupled to your phone. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but the more you use your phone, the more you're dependent on it. If you use your phone every single minute for different reasons, you're really dependent on it. Now, if I take that phone from you, you're going to have a difficult time living. We have the same concept in object-oriented programming. So we want to reduce the coupling between classes. Now, there is no such a thing as no coupling or zero coupling. There is always coupling. Because all these classes that we create, they should work together to perform some tasks. We just want to aim to reduce the coupling. Let me give you an example. Let's say class A is using class B, so it's dependent upon or coupled to this class. Now, if we change class B, class A may have to be modified, or at least it has to be recompiled. And also, any other classes that are dependent on class A may have to be modified or at least recompiled. Now, this is not a big issue when we have only 2 classes in our application, but in a real complex application, you might have thousands of classes. You don't want to change one class and end up with 100 broken classes. This is the problem with coupling. The more our classes are coupled to each other, the more costly our changes are going to be. So by reducing the coupling, we can reduce the impact of changes. Let me show you this in code. So here in our main class, we are using the employee class. So the main class is dependent on the employee class. Now, what are our coupling points here? We have a few. Here's our first coupling point where we create a new instance of the employee class. Currently, we are not passing any values or arguments here. But if in the future we change the employee class such that we have to pass the name of the employee at the time of creation, then we'll have to come back to the main class and pass the name here. So we'll have to modify the main class, and the code in this class has to be recompiled. Here's another coupling point where we're calling the setBaseSalary method. So in this example, in our main class, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 coupling points to the employee class. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. You really need these coupling points here. But let's take a look at the members of the employee class. So employee dot, here we have a couple of methods that we have not used in this class, get base salary and get hourly rate. Let's say there is really no requirement to have these methods. So I just created these methods to show you how we can create a getter. If we don't have a requirement to use these methods, it's better to hide or delete them. Because the more methods a class provides, the more other classes are going to get coupled to it. Just like your phone and the apps you have installed on it. If your phone has only 5 apps, you have 5 coupling points to your phone. But if it has 100 apps, you have 100 coupling points to your phone. So in this example, I'm going to go back to our employee class and make this method private. So we're hiding this from the outside. Once again, this is abstraction in action. We're hiding the unnecessary detail. We're hiding the implementation detail. And with this, we're reducing complexity. Let's do this with the get hourly rate method. So private. Now back to the main class. Take a look. Employee dot. Now we only have 3 methods to use. So the interface of this class is simpler and it's easier to use. And we're going to have less coupling in the future. Once again, let me give you a metaphor. You've probably used one of those remote controls that have so many buttons. They're really hard to use, right? In contrast, we have remote controls like this that are super easy to use. So these buttons on this remote control are like the methods in our classes. We want to reduce the number of these methods exposed outside the class. So this was one example of coupling. We're going to look at another example next.